Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Facebook free training. I'm Lucia Tiffany with The Harvest Cook, and I hope that some of you are going to be able to be on with me today. This is not going to be a real long Facebook Live, but it's going to be, I think, something that will be really helpful to you to successfully transition to a plant-based diet. And one of those things is adjusting our palate. Let me share my screen with you now and let you take a look at what we have here. We're looking at a palate reset. What is a palate reset? How do we do a palate reset? And the reason I call it a palate reset is because our palate, that is our taste buds, are very plastic. They actually can get used to new flavors rather rapidly. Some of you may have, at some point in your life, been put on a salt-free diet. Doctors will often do this if someone's struggling with high blood pressure, have maybe some kinds of congestive heart problems. Well, it doesn't take very long for someone on a salt-free diet to actually start to accustom themselves to it. In fact, if you go on a completely salt-free diet for only 2 or 3 weeks, it's amazing how salty things like chips and pickles will taste when you go back to eating those kinds of things, or if you try to go back to eating those kinds of things, which shows us that it doesn't take very long for our taste buds to adjust to new things. And one of the things that can help speed up that adjustment is doing a palate reset. I've worked with community health education projects with people that were looking to really change their lives. Often they had serious health problems and so were really motivated. And they found that if they chose to do a palate reset, that it often made the transition easier for them. So I want to share with you the simple principles of a palate reset. It's basically just 7 days of very simple food. For example, what I would suggest is a pattern like this. For the first 3 days, you only have fresh fruit and whole grains. If you want a little unsweetened non-dairy milk on them, you can do that as well. But when we talk about fresh fruit, it can be any kind of fresh fruit. The only non-fresh fruit that is allowed on the first 3 days would be canned pineapple that's canned in its own juice. So no added sugars. That's very important. But any fresh fruits and canned pineapple in its own juice are acceptable to eat during these 3 days. I recommend 2 or 3 meals a day, and you can eat in that meal as much fresh fruit, whole grains, with just a little bit of unsweetened non-dairy milk if you want on your whole grains. And you can eat as much as you need to get full. But do not eat in between meals. Eat a breakfast, a lunch, and if you're hungry, have something in the evening. And there's no specific portions for this. You don't have to measure anything. It's really simple. One of the ways I like to do the first 3 days, I'll do this every once in a while, is I like cooked brown rice with canned pineapple on it. And you can put a little bit of milk if you want. I really like that. 3 days, you might get tired of only having one grain. Mix up your fruit. Have apples, grapes, citrus fruits, mangoes, strawberries, other kinds of berries, many different kinds of fruits. And for whole grains, I really recommend that you do like a hot cereal and do oats or do rice. You can do whole wheat berries cooked until they pop and are tender, so it's like a cereal. Something that can be really handy to do that is one of those small crock pots that holds about 4 cups. You can put your hot whole grain in the crock pot in the evening, cook it overnight, it's ready to go in the morning. Really simple. The part that I usually find hardest to get used to for me is having the whole grain without any salt in it. For some people, it's not a problem at all. But during these 7 days, we stick to completely whole foods, and that means no added salt, sugars, oils, and it's a really good time to completely cut out caffeinated articles, things like tea, coffee, chocolate, or caffeinated soft drinks. Um, if you're used to having a lot of caffeinated drinks, you might find that you have some headache um, after a day or two of going without them. That headache will go away. Drink lots of water in between your meals. And if you need to, you can make like 1 cup of coffee and just take 1 teaspoonful if the headache gets so you really can't tolerate it. But only do that like once every 3 or 4 hours if you need it to help the headache. Another thing that you can do to help the headache is to soak your feet in hot water, warm water that's as warm as you can handle it without burning yourself, of course, and put an ice pack on your head. That will often relieve the headache from caffeine withdrawal. And you can do that 2, 3, 4 times a day. I would keep your feet in the hot water about 20 minutes. So you could do that first thing in the morning if you wake up with a headache. You could also do it in the evening before you go to bed. And if you have the opportunity, depending on your work schedule or your daily schedule, you might be able to do it in the middle of the day as well. So that will also help with the caffeine headache. So first 3 days, fresh fruit and whole grains. Do a variety of whole grains. Other whole grains you can try are millet, quinoa, um, barley. Those are all available at your local supermarket. And you will find that this will also probably cut your food bill. But like I said, don't limit yourself on quantities. These are all very high fiber foods, and you're not going to overeat if you are sticking to these guidelines. On the 4th day, you can add raw vegetables. You can also actually steam them as well as have them raw. So that gives you some variety. Make some big salads. You can use lemon juice on the salads to help to flavor them, and any herbs that you would like. A little Italian seasoning, some basil, some dill. Those are all really good sprinkled on your vegetables, your salads. And so you can add that to your fresh fruit and your whole grains on day 4. On days 5, 6, and 7, you can start to add in legumes. Things like lentils, chickpeas, pinto beans, black beans. Um, if you're using canned beans, make sure you get the kind with no salt for days 5 through 7. If you're putting them in a crock pot and doing them yourself, then just leave the salt out. So just the beans. And once again, you can eat as much as you need to feel satisfied at each meal, but nothing in between your meals. So breakfast, lunch, and if you need it, an evening meal is not a problem. So during this whole week, you want nothing with any refined sugars or oils in it, no salt, and no tea, coffee, or other caffeinated articles. On day 8, you can transition to a simple plant-based diet. All whole foods. I recommend minimal amounts of oils, salt, and sweeteners, by which time you will need very little amounts of those for the food to taste absolutely scrumptious. So that's the simple palate reset. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the box below. If you have any questions at this point, you can go ahead and type that in the comments box. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And I'm also going to put a couple of links to things that might be helpful to you as you plan for your 7 days of simple food, your palate reset. So while I wait to see if there's any comments, I'm going to get some links ready for you now. Okay, I'm always open for questions. I know sometimes it takes a little while to type them, so I'm going to give you a little time while I get a link for you that I'm going to put into the comments. How many of you have one of those little crock pots? I have several crock pots. I like the small ones for cooking hot cereals. They're real convenient. They just hold like 4 cups. And they come in really handy when you want to make a small amount of something. For example, a 1.5 quart is plenty big for doing a hot cereal, for example, for a family. And they're also quite inexpensive. Here's an example of one that would work really well. It's like one I have. Let me see if I can just type this in here for you. Okay, let me get it here. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye for now. I'll be posting another free training coming up where we're going to look at the second half of how to get your pantry stocked. I actually wanted to say something about your pantry here with this Facebook Live as well, which is as you think about going through your palate reset, you're going to want to make sure that you have in stock in your pantry a variety of whole grains, and stock up on some fresh fruits and vegetables, and have a few kinds of beans. That's all you're going to need to get started on your simple palate reset. So have a great day, and I'll be putting the links in the comments below so you'll have that available, and feel free to also ask any questions about anything in this presentation at the same time. Thanks. Have a great day.